Hi, I'm Michelle. This is my so-called handmade life. I have a blog by the same name, and that's my name on Instagram. On Ravelry, I am Mamatronic. This is a knitting, crochet, making, DIY, whatever I feel like talking about kind of podcast where I ask you questions and discuss things, and you give me feedback in the comments, and it kind of shapes where we go the next week. So, first up, I just want to say that I talked in the last episode, I think, about the Cancun boxy lace top as a crochet top. It's not, and several of you caught that. It is knitting. I just have it in my head as crochet because it came out, or I discovered it, around the same time as a drops amber pattern, which I'm going to link both again in these notes and on the blog. So you can see that both of them, they don't look the same. They don't. But I had a friend online, Heather, who made the drops amber, and in my head she had made Cancun, and I liked her tea, and I think about that summer tea every single summer. So I'm going to link both of those for you in the notes, but thank you for that. And if you're not a crocheter and you're encouraged that there's a top that has the same kind of sort of striping lace pattern, but it's knitting and not crochet, you might feel more confident doing it. They don't look the same though. So, talking about summer tops, let me just go ahead and show you my very frustrating progress on the raw tee. I'm recovering from that little back sprain or whatever, and it's a sprain like never before. You know, we often, like since my 20s, I reach over to do something, and my back is sore for a week. This was different, and I think it's because I haven't done really strength and stretch type exercises. I do strength, but I haven't done Pilates or yoga in a couple of years now, and it shows. I think this did not bother me as bad, this kind of pull, or it didn't happen as much because I did that, and it prepared me for all sorts of like lateral and odd movements that just lifting and walking and running or riding a bike won't prepare me for. So I got to get back to doing that. Thank you though for everyone who commented. I haven't gotten to answering comments on my last first person maker where I talk about making through pain and just ideas about dealing with pain. But let me, I was doing the I-cord bind off in that video as I talked to you guys, and I didn't like it. It rolled really bad. So then let me show you this. This is my fourth rendition of this top. You can see the rolling. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. This isn't as bad as the I-cord, but what I did here was, this is sort of like a folded hem. It's been a few days since I did it. So first I did I-cord, and that is what is on the sleeve. And the sleeve is rolling pretty bad, as you can see. Which isn't so bad because it's a longer, I would hate it if it were right here doing that, but it's a little longer because of the drop shoulder look. So it's not the end of the world on the sleeve, but I really don't want a hemline rolling up, you know, an inch. So I had this I-cord on the bottom. It rolled way too bad. Now I haven't blocked, but I looked in the projects and people said that it was doing that for them too. So I decided to pick back that I-cord bind off that you saw me make, and instead I did a weird kind of thing I saw where you're sort of picking, it's sort of like a folded hem. You're picking the purl bumps of two rows down. So it's a bit of a rolled or a folded hem. It's sort of a hybrid. It rolled really bad. So I ripped it back. Trial number 3, I did ribbing. Well, I didn't like the way a little bit of ribbing looked with this right here. I just felt like it looked weird. Now, one project, they made this entire lower band ribbing, and it looked cool. It looked good, but it's a very common look for a knitted top, and I really liked the sample of this, how the rolled edge, not rolling up too much, with this deconstructed looking seam. I really liked how the two looked together, and I wanted that look. So I ripped the ribbing back, and instead I did a folded hem, basically, but it's such a small fold that it has the look of I-cord. I actually think this is a bit better than the I-cord, and I haven't tried to spray and block this with an iron. I really don't see myself as an ironing a t-shirt kind of person, so if I have to iron it for it to be straight, I don't know how often I'll wear it. Maybe because I made it, I'll make the effort. So the way I did this, I knit 2 or 3, I think 3 rounds of purl, just purl rows. So it's basically reverse stockinette, and then I folded it over and knit it together, each stitch at the end with the purl bump behind it. So it's a bit like a folded hem. It is, but it's just a mini fold so that it would look like I-cord. Oh, I also tried partway through this to just do a purl round or 2, and then a regular stockinette bind off, because I figure stockinette will curl up, but that purl round or 2 will keep it from curling up too far. And I think I did that trick with my bulky easy one at the neckline, but a neckline's not quite the same as a hemline, and this is much larger, and it did not work. It rolled. So I'm out of ideas. Andrea mentioned on Instagram to me that maybe using a larger needle for that I-cord bind off would make all the difference. I'm going to try that with this sleeve. And if this sleeve looks better than this sleeve, I might do that on the bottom. I am open to any ideas you guys have, but I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of done with working on this because I was really excited to start my first crochet garment. So I still have this neckline to do, but there's an interesting way of handling this pickup. Right after you pick up your sleeves here, there's this horizontal stitch. It's different. It's different. It gives an interesting seam, and I really found that neat. I liked having the new technique. I believe that is going to happen at the neckline too, and it will on the other sleeve. And so you can start to see the shape of this. These seams in the back, it's really cute. Let me see if I can put it on as is over my Blockbuster shirt. I love this Blockbuster shirt. I found it at like Goodwill, and I don't know, it's super nostalgic for me. I miss those Blockbuster nights. All right, this looks really bad with this T under it, but you get the idea. It's rolling pretty bad. This is a pretty bad roll. So, yeah, I don't like the way it's rolling, but I do like this neckline. Like, there's gonna be a little bit of a band here, kind of like at the sleeves. Ooh, but I like this U kind of lazy neckline. So I'm excited to wear it anyway. I will wear it even if it rolls, but any ideas, please send them my way. So that was a bit of a bummer because I really wanted to show you guys the finished raw tee, and if I hadn't had to re-knit that so many times, I would have had it finished, and I would be moving on to some progress on Calad, but I didn't even look at it this whole time because I was doing that. And even though this week has not been as painful as the ones before with my back, I found that my body was exhausted from dealing with the pain, and I just didn't get the things done that I planned. I had a little video I was going to edit for you guys. I didn't do it. I wanted to do this several days ago, didn't do it. So I just decided to be easy on myself, and I'm going to talk more about that later. Oh, I did finish Fernwood, but I think I showed you that in that last little video I did, but there are no pockets. I mean, the pockets are knit, they are not attached. So I will show you this in case you don't watch the little first person maker videos. And I still have ends, of course. But loving this. This is some Lion Brand Thick and Quick. I'm really glad to use it up. Let me get my sleeves straight. Ooh, I hate when sleeves bunch up. Yeah. And this is super roomy, as you can see. I haven't sewn my buttons on either, actually. I forgot to do that. I'm actually ready for that. I could do that now. Super comfy, nice, easy drapey. It's just like it's supposed to be. I don't know if I'm going to take photos for my blog until it gets a little bit cooler. I might wait a couple of months or a few weeks because I don't really want to wear Thick and Quick in 107 degrees, but I'm really, really pleased with how this turned out. And I'm so pleased I used a bunch of stash. This is a big bag of yarn. And this is the kind of cardigan I can wear over, I'll show you when I'm finished completely. This isn't like an FO officially, but I'm so glad I have something to wear over, like, I don't know, jammies when I'm cold in the morning or to go out somewhere. I know that it's going to be easy care, and I don't know that it will pill up any worse than anything else. I have a lot of woolies, chunky sweaters and regular woolies that they tend to wear like wool of the Andes, so I'm excited about it. That is all I got accomplished knitting wise, so that's not very much. I asked you guys in the last episode, when is personal too personal? And you all seem to agree, pretty much never or rarely. When I asked you what good content is to you, I got a lot of answers, and I really appreciated that. Most of you like crafting content on YouTube. For Karen, it's like catching up with a friend who's a knitter, and she sees her YouTube friends as friends, which I see you that way, Karen. I love when I can talk to you guys in the comments here, but I really like it when I know your Instagram or Ravelry handle and I can kind of follow you there. So if you mention, oh, I have a project and it's giving me trouble in the comments here, I can go to Instagram and see what it is. And I love seeing the things Karen is making. So it's right back at you, Karen. She likes to also watch like interesting kind of deep dive interviews. And a few episodes back, she recommended Diary of a CEO to everyone, and I put it in the show notes. I'm going to link a recent episode that I saw about AI, and it's a guy who was kind of high up in Google, and his name is Mo. I don't remember his last name. He wrote, I think Scary Smart is the book, and I'll link those things. It was a really interesting interview. It did not end like I thought it would. In fact, when it started, my husband watched it with me. He was like, oh, this looks kind of clickbaity. I was like, no, this podcast isn't like that. But I did think that Mo was going to go a different direction than he did in his kind of predictions for the future. So it was interesting, kind of heavy, but not exactly what I thought it would be. I would love to hear if any of you watch it and your thoughts about it in the comments. It's fairly long, but it was pretty good. And I found that this talk about a future where we're more reliant on technology and we're doing less for ourselves, kind of like Anna said last week about that's part of what makes us human is our self-care, our routines, our ways of handling things and interacting with each other as we do it daily, our work ethic is sort of part of who we are, that is drastically going to change in the next few years. So it's got me thinking about a lot of things, about what my work ethic is, about what my limits of technology interfering with my life and or helping my life. I've just had a ton of thoughts about all of this lately. Not that I can communicate them all coherently here, but so one thing Karen likes to do is disrupt the algorithm by just typing in queries that are so out there and out of her norm. And, you know, when you feel like the algorithm is guiding you and kind of giving you more and more and more of the same, but keeping you from seeing new things, I should do that more. I usually just turn it off when I sense that happening. But also, if my husband gets on my YouTube, he kind of disrupts the algorithm for me because we like vastly different kinds of videos. Carrie likes to follow knitting YouTubers also, but she does like more than just the knitting facts too. She enjoys seeing extras, like their other artistic endeavors or something they're cooking or what's going on in their life. She also likes conversational style podcasts, kind of like this. Kat, same way. She likes to see knitting friends show kind of a rounded picture of who they are, because she said we are more than knitting, and that's very true. But she's a little leery of videos that go over an hour, which I hear you, I get it, but I have totally done that in my videos. I don't mind long videos. I can take them in chunks, but I can't watch even short videos where it's online, it's like live streaming, and they're discussing things for the viewing audience later, but also answering questions as they come in, and there's like a time delay. That's maddening. I can't do that. Stacy likes videos that deal with like craft challenges, but present clear solutions. So she likes, that would be a focused video on how do I do blank, you know, and she likes that. She also likes, like I was thinking about how some of you go to YouTube specifically for problem solving. I've done that before. I like to go to blogs for that too. I really do like something that gets to the clear point. Most of her videos that she watches are knitting, but she does watch other things, and all of them, she does like a conversational style that she might just have on in the background as she works or does things throughout the day. That is another thing that Katie has said. She introduced us to the Aesthetic Camping website. I'm going to link it again in the notes a while back. And I followed that account, and I find it so soothing. It's sort of like putting on easy listening music or something. Remember when like your grandparents listened to the Easy Listening channel radio station? That's what it's like for me. It's that kind of soothing. And I can like do things, or I can sit and focus on it, and it's very relaxing. She also is in it for the person. The subject matter doesn't really matter. She's in it for the person, and kind of like Karen and Stacy, it can be on in the background while she works and does things. I used to watch mostly knitting, but I found lately I'm watching more about home DIY, decor. I was writing content for a decor site. That's probably part of it, but I actually was excited to get that job because I already did. Like, I like watching how people do things, particularly on a budget, because, you know, that's always been my interest. I find, though, that I'm watching more and more videos where the podcasters are sort of inviting you into their home, and it's, this is what I'm doing this week. And it's something different each week. It's not always like a craft or even a DIY. It might just be, you know, I'm making bread or something. And it's the conversation, the way they chat with you. I enjoy it. And it does feel like, yeah, I can put it on while I'm making dinner, and it feels like, you know, you're making dinner with somebody. I appreciate that, feeling like I'm invited into their home. Because when you have a YouTube video on in the background, and as a maker, it's really a responsibility. Like, I had a video a few years ago that had a ton of views, and rather than be excited like, oh, I'm going viral, it weirded me out. It feels like I felt like a responsibility, like, oh, really, people are watching. You're inviting someone into your home, and I want to be a good hostess. And so I like that about, like, this is an actual room in my house. This isn't a set. I really like the idea, and I get why people, especially if it's their job, I get why they have a YouTube set. I get it. And it's way easy. And I do leave these lights. These are the old-fashioned ones. Oh, they're big. They were cheap. They're big. Oh, they're annoyingly big. But I just leave them in this room, and it's a super big mess. But I like it to be my house because I want to invite you into my home. I like looking at other people's homes and what they're doing. So my goal is to keep my house neat enough that I could on the fly make a video in my kitchen or wherever and not be totally embarrassed. But it's never going to be super neat because I just can't do that. I can't maintain that. Just like I'm not going to wear a need to iron t-shirt in the summer. Also think we have to be careful. These videos that we watch, like if they constantly play the next one and the next one, I really don't want to see trending topics that are angry or outraged, you know, or mocking, you know, like there's a lot of things I don't agree about in the world, but I don't necessarily want to see someone who shares the same ideas I do about it mocking ruthlessly. I don't like bringing that into my home. I wouldn't want someone like that hanging out every day in my house with me. So I have to be mindful of that. And I'm mindful when I make these videos, like, am I going to talk for an hour and is it going to get intense? I told you in the last video, the last episode I did, that like, oh, I used to get really confessional and I think I made a mistake. And then I literally, the next video, I turn the video on and I start knitting and talking about my mom's battle with cancer and how well she went through it and how I handle pain and the not knowing of what's next and prayer and like all this heavy stuff. I just can't help it. That's just who I am. I have to accept that. I don't have like a polished set though, I guess is my point. I want you to feel like you're in my home. And let me show you. Oh my gosh. It's not a perfect set for sure. As I'm talking to you about not wanting things to be too set-like, right, in my home. This is so horrible. You know those planters I did in my first person maker video? Well, some bug got in them and it came in from another plant, from a different store, but it's kind of migrated around my house. It's just like a little, I don't know, they kind of grow up to be like spiders, but at first they're like little aphidy jumping around things. And I've got a neem oil solution that I've put on my plants and it's pretty much seemed to work. It took a couple of weeks, but then I got these little, these little flypaper things you stick in, and it's basically flypaper and it's so gross. You can see the little bugs on them. And then my cat walked past it. That's disgusting. That's what's become of my beautiful mid-century planters. I'm gonna take them out, but I just left it in there for a few days to kind of catch some flies. It really didn't, but some of them, some other plants in my house were just riddled with that bug and it caught a bunch of them. So I think the problem is solved, but it is not a polished perfection here. That's the kind of sneak peek you can get at my house if I'm not careful. I think you guys are okay with podcasts being a little formulaic. Lori likes people being real. she doesn't necessarily need like a formula for the podcast, but of course she wants to see what people are making and their thoughts about stuff. She also doesn't even mind Patreon or Ko-Fi because she no longer watches television. YouTube is pretty much all she does, so she doesn't mind even paying for a few of the things she views, or just, you know, here and there donating. Christy also likes that standard format, and by the format, I'm talking about like I did, what I'm working on, what I finished, stuff I got, and what I'm want to do next, with some life stuff thrown in. Christy also likes that format. She's fine with it, and that's what she does in her podcast, Christy Archer Designs, which I really enjoy her podcast. The other day I was watching it and my husband came in the room and he's like, "Who's this?" I said, "Oh, this is one of my knitting friends." And then I realized how goofy I sound to him, because like we don't know each other in real life, and I look like one of those people who thinks the soap operas are real and that the Lisa and whatever Victor are their friends, you know. But I really see Christy as my friend, kind of like Karen said, and he's heard me lately talking about how I kind of am bemoaning the artificial television-y feel that I see coming into podcasts now. And so he's like, "Well, she seems really regular, like a real person talking." I was like, "Yes, she is. She's very genuine, and this is the kind of podcast I like to watch." So that is Christy's style. She likes the very thing that she makes. I think that format works for us because it's our knit night. It's exactly what you would do at a knit night, and you talk a little about your parents, your kids, your whatever, your job, and do a lot of making and helping one another out. And Christy does talk a lot about modifications and her personal approach to designing patterns, because she's got a lot of patterns out. Oh, by the way, a lot of summer patterns, and I think she has a fairly new summer top that's come out and is about to have a new installment of her Simply Irresistible sock patterns, which I've talked to you about before. They're the ones with the ribbed heel. Perfect for someone like me who does not turn a heel every time. There's no heel turn. I think that would really be fun if we kind of together, if any of you, when I'm going to cast that on. When I finish the socks I'm working on now, I'm going to cast on one of Christy's sock patterns. It would be kind of fun if some of y'all wanted to try it out with me. She may do that with her viewers too, with the newest pattern, but she's got several out. They've got that ribbed heel, but neat patterns on the instep. So Leah likes that standard format too. And in her podcast, that's how she's always been. Very genuine and real, talking about her patterns and some about her life. Now, her podcast, Eventual Knits, she hasn't done an episode in quite a while, but she's at a phase of life that's super busy, and you know, I don't know if she's going to come back or not. Possibly one day. I may be wrong, Leah, but I felt like you distanced yourself a little from YouTube and podcasting for a while. The whole consumerism thing might have also kind of drained your interest in social media knitting. Am I right about that, or am I making that up? But either way, I always enjoyed her podcast. So I'm going to, in fact, hopefully at the end, remember to give you verbally a list of different makers that sometimes comment here with you in the comments in their podcast, but I will definitely have the link in my notes and on my blog. Ivana also likes videos where people are just really being themselves, not too curated or polished. And she makes that type of video. You know, she's in her living room, it looks like, making her videos, and I really love the lighting in your house, Ivana. Ivana also will have little glimpses of things she's doing, and her videos are really, I think, really beautifully produced. Just little ones, maybe at the beginning or middle or end of her podcast. Katinka does that too, really well, making vlogs, and she's actually traveling right now, And so there's the travel vlog aspect, but there's also her having literal podcast type episodes where she talks about, say, a dress she's making while she's in someone else's house without her sewing table and such. And I find those problem solving ways she's meeting that challenge really interesting. It's a very exciting adventure she's having. I'll also link the seamstress at the cottage for you. Ada, the Athenian maker, she's another one of the podcasters. And Ivana's podcast is The Republic of Me, if you didn't know. But I thought it was really sweet because I think it was Stacy commented in the comments, and then she saw Ivana's comment and she said something really sweet to Ivana about her podcast because she watches it too. I love seeing y'all talk to each other. I love that. Ivana and Karen both, though, said they often feel like watching something lightweight, like about handbags and shoes or trash, you know? And I definitely can go there. I find the danger for me is to look up videos like reviews on a product, because that's gonna get me with wanting to spend, and it's not yarn, but it'll be something like for my house or something. So that's the stuff I indulge in that I probably shouldn't. It sounds like you guys, though, pretty much watch the content you're interested in. Here's a good test to see if you're really watching the stuff you say you want to watch. Go to your YouTube and click in your search bar and just see what your last, I don't know, 7, 8 searches were. This is what mine said. I actually wrote it down for you. This is the order. Fiona Apple Rocks, because that's Fiona Apple's YouTube. Nerdy Knitting, that's a new podcast to me. Dull Tool, with Tool, T-O-O-L, spelled with zeros. And then the next one is Dull Tool with it spelled with O's. That's Fiona Apple's Instagram name because I was looking for her. Carolyn Winkler, who I just think is fun to watch. Taylor Swift, who I don't know anything about her. UFO Hearings. Unfitted Kitchens, which is a new little obsession. Time Blindness, and the Shiny Objects podcast, because I was looking to see if Eunice had more podcast episodes. I looked up Taylor Swift. Guys, people are wearing adult undergarments, like Depends, to her concert so that they don't miss anything and can sit through the whole show. And I literally don't know one line from one of her songs. I don't know any lyrics from her songs. I know nothing about her. I think I can recognize the way she looks, and I know there's a pattern on Ravelry based on some cardigan she wore in a video. That is all I know about her. So funny. So I looked up her videos to see, what does she sing? I just couldn't even hardly watch but a second. That's why I think I cleansed my palette with looking up Dull Tool or Fiona Apple. So I was like, no, I think this is more my speed. Anyway. I love that Karen is trying to thwart the algorithm by looking up whatever she wants. Eunice does All the Shiny Objects podcast, but has stopped. And that's why I couldn't find it when I looked it up. Eunice told me about Spicy Life or A Spicier Life blanket by Sandra Paul that I made several episodes back. It's the best. I want one for me. But Eunice found that the algorithm and tracking views and keeping track of all of it was just very discouraging and stressful. And she just didn't like making videos, and so she quit. I do hear you. I'm not sure if you were wanting to go the route of monetizing, because I think that's really stressful, personally. If I were looking at this channel as a business, you have to be obsessed with numbers. You pretty much do. I don't know. It would kill the joy for me. But even if you're not trying to make it a business, it can be pretty discouraging to get zero of just a few views, or maybe even a thumbs down, and you've only made a few videos. There's no real reason for it. It's just trolling. It's very hard to be seen too. It's very hard to be found on YouTube if you don't, like I said, follow those rules and live for those numbers, and you have to produce regularly just to please an algorithm to show you to people. I get that, but I was telling her in the comments, if making videos just pleases you, just make them private and do it for the fun, for the log of it, for yourself, and then maybe make them public again one day. I find that making these videos is incredibly cathartic for me. And I have something in me that like wants to get out. I started making these in lieu of talking to my grandmother every day. I don't talk very much to anyone. I don't really have anybody to talk to. My daughter likes to have conversations and stuff, but we don't see each other but maybe once a week. And, you know, I'm just pretty quiet and it's just all stored up. I asked what you like to see more of. And Lori and Karen both said, just be you. We like you. Do what you like and we'll like it. Heather also said that when you enjoy what you're doing, which made me think of you, Eunice, when you enjoy what you're making, other people will enjoy it with you. It may take them a while to find you in a way that it wouldn't have 5 years ago, but the people you find will enjoy you, and that will be a community if you're interested in making videos again. But I thought about that, and I think it's true. I like watching people who are very chill about their videos. Some that you can tell there's a stress because it's a business and I've got to hurry and make this video and I've got this time limit. And I like it when it's super relaxed and it's whenever they feel like making a video. Maureen, one of the things she would likes to see and would like to see more of is lesser known patterns and designers. She also mentioned, rather than just a slew of patterns, having them kind of broken up into what is more doable. I'm not sure quite what you meant, Maureen, if you mean sort of skill level, or kind of like when one of those, I've recently had some episodes with a lot of links. The one where I showed you things I've made to talk about summer yarn I've used before, I felt like I did break that down into the ease of the pattern, the convenience of the yarn, how well they work together. If you mean that kind of thing, I do want to try to be more mindful of that and not just say, here's stuff, you know, because I'm not sure how advanced you feel like you are with crafting, but I know I appreciate it when someone's discussing something I'm not super confident in. I like all the little extra details, so I'm going to try to be mindful of that. I definitely filter everything I think about talking about through, I put it through a filter of affordability and approachability. Like, is this easy to get a hold of and is it affordable? But that's sort of some of my personal criteria that I really enjoy about crafting. I have a few more ideas of like a series of episodes in the future. We'll see if I get to them. I'm going to have to start working soon. I know, again, I had a little break to try, and I'm continuing some education, and I'm was trying to get the setting up of my blog and the making videos, all of this streamlined so that I could do it easier when I am working more. So we'll see, but I do have some fun ideas in the future. Now, Adina, you kind of blew me away with your comment, because I try and take like the temperature of my viewers every once in a while to see if, you know, this kind of personal chit chat and sidetracking that I do, is it a bit much? Should I dial it back? Is there really an appetite for it? Should these videos be private? You know, every once in a while I just ask, and Adina really kind of reinforced that, yes, there's an audience for it. She mentioned her personality type being INTJ, which is like in the Myers-Briggs personality test, it's like intuitive, introverted thinking and judgment. And that personality type, she likes something that makes her think. She likes to consider things. And seeing projects is great, but she likes having a little nugget to consider. And I'm really glad to hear that. I just skim the surface of all the little things I talk about, but I always have a thing on my mind that if I had a knitting friend, I'd be talking about the thing that's been bugging me or that has been on my mind, and I like sharing it with you, and I'm really happy to hear that you guys enjoy that. And of course, I want to hear the stuff that's on your mind in the comments. Not even just what I've mentioned in the podcast, so like anything. I like knowing there's an appetite for a broader subject matter, even though, like I said, I don't go really deep in it. In fact, I mean, I'm mostly just posing questions and I'm letting you do a lot of the heavy lifting with your answers. All of this has left me with a few thoughts. This plus other things I've been reading and thinking about my style of living, the pressures of modern day life, and all of that. I've come up with a couple of focus points. One is that my goal here is that creative catharsis over likes. So like catharsis over clicks is kind of my mindset. It's not a mindset that will easily ever monetize, probably. I can't see a brand feeling comfortable saying, here, we want to sponsor you. We have no clue what's fixing to come out of your mouth next. I don't really see that happening, but whatever. I wouldn't hate it. However, that getting that thing out that I feel like I need to say is more important to me than the regular posting that gets the algorithm to pick me up. That's more important, and I've made the decision. I told you I was writing content a while back. I quit and I wanted to focus on studying producing your own content on a blog. But my goal was mainly to document my life some. And if I could on the side, do, monetize content creation, great. I also looked into doing it for YouTube. It can be really stressful to try and make a business of that. And it would definitely affect how personal, and like, I need a week to fully process the stuff some of you talk about. If I just tried to rush back with an answer, I think it would be even more surface than it might already be. So I like to write. Nothing special, but I like to write, and YouTube episodes are basically writing, and I'm just reading it out to you. I've got notes always. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's just that YouTube is a little more of a off-the-cuff brainstorming session, like a first draft, whereas a blog post is a little more, I don't know, thought out. And that's my emphasis, not really clicks. And the other is just to do what I can. So I've been feeling some pressure lately to hurry and master some things, hurry and get some stuff. I've been really enjoying making these videos, but I want to make them every week, right? And that is part of getting seen. Just by your regulars, it helps to put out a video every week, but it also feels good to do it. Yeah, I can't be too perfectionist about it. I had that injury. I just needed to take some time to rest and clean my house finally. And I'm just going to do what I can. I just don't want to rush creative projects. That's what I decided. So if I really need money, I'm going to work the family business. If I want to be creative, I'm not going to freak out and rush to do it. Do you feel like you are rushing a lot? Like, I don't ever like run around. Like, my children are grown for a while. I had like run them to school, do things for my grandparents, run to an appointment, this, that, all day long, pick the kids up, hurry to do homework, you know, get them to maybe an activity. That was a very stressful, busy, hurried time in my life. I'm not doing that anymore. But I still have that feeling of pressure like I was talking about, and I've really tried to analyze it. I'm reading this book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. I think I have it here. Yeah. I am reading it because I borrowed it from a friend over like almost 2 years ago, and I need to hurry and return it. I hate holding on to somebody's stuff for that long that I borrowed. So I'm like, okay, that kind of fits with what I've been thinking about. I want to revamp my lifestyle, and I'm going to talk more about it in coming episodes as I experiment. But like we talked about stash busting, right? The mindset behind the constant collecting. It's the dopamine, Instagram scrolling thing. Not healthy. A lot of it is avoiding thinking about things we don't want to think about. A lot of it is coping with something. So that's already was on my mind, and I've just been really evaluating my life. And this book is, the guy is, he's a Christian author. It's not a Christian book per se, but I mention that because he was a preacher. And his church grew really fast to be like mega church status. And that's a thing a lot of people would say, that's a good deed. You want that. You want to give a lot more people a church home, and this is good works and all. And he felt really uncomfortable with it. He didn't feel like he knew the people there. He didn't feel like he could take care of things. He did not feel like he was doing his job well. And he was having to spend more and more hours working. Family life frayed. And he realizes one day, when he finally is done working, all he can do is sit in front of the TV and just marathon Netflix. And that's super unhealthy. He's not resting, nor is he accomplishing anything. And so I thought that would be an interesting take on hurry. Somebody who set aside a lifestyle that many would say is very worthy and important, because the hurry and rush it put on their body was too much. So I thought it would be interesting. I'm not super far in it. I'm maybe a quarter of the way through. He's got a lot of quotes, and it's very easily digested. You know, I could take it in bites. It's not too deep. He quotes Carl Jung as saying, "Hurry is the devil." And I thought that was interesting because a lot of that Myers-Briggs personality test, like Adina mentioned hers, and I told you about that. A lot of that is based, I think, on Jung's research and findings. And I actually took that test, probably a few months ago. I was watching a podcaster I like. She'd had back problems her whole life. She took that test, and what it revealed about her personality type, which was a very feeling, emotive, empathic type, was that she took on, they said people who have that personality type often have back problems. I guess presumably because you internalize the stress of all that you're feeling and you don't know how to process it. And it just weighs heavily on you. And it's really funny, isn't it, how we can have like, it's like really, our bodies sometimes are almost funny, humorous, the way they interpret what we're doing to them. For instance, somebody who's super uptight and they're holding a lot of stuff in, they might be constipated. Or someone who's super worried and frightened and their brow is furrowed, headaches. Anyway, I thought I've just, heard that my whole life, but I thought what she said was interesting because I do have low back issues. And I was like, well, I'm going to see what that test is. I just did the free one. I didn't do the real deal test, but I kind of thought it would be like a Cosmo quiz. I was really surprised at how accurately it described things about my personality I've never put into words. that I think I've seen as negative aspects because they annoyed people around me who didn't have that personality type. For instance, like Adina said she's INTJ. I think I'm INFJT for turbulent. Whatever. My daughter said that the Myers-Briggs test is like, she heard someone say somewhere, it's like the Christian woman's horoscope. That cracked me up. She said a lot of people she knows online would post, like as part of their bio, what their personality type is. And they sort of filtered their life around that. I don't like put a lot of store in personality tests normally. I was really surprised though how accurate this one was. And it kind of gave me some encouragement that these aren't necessarily bad points. Just because they don't resonate with people around me doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. And I think the only reason it ever bothered me was probably that turbulence, that self-doubt. So anyway, I introverted, intuitive, feeling, and then judgment. And the judgment part isn't necessarily judging everyone else, but I have it's saying I have a sort of morality or a standard of right and wrong, and I want to do the right thing. I want to be a good person. And so I'm always judging my thoughts and my life based on that. And that's actually pretty accurate of me. And I don't always do the right thing. But the turbulence, though, boy, that was interesting to think of, because I really do. I've felt an internal struggle with being so feeling and so committed to a higher goal. That's what it is. The judgment is like a higher goal that you're committed to. And you can be very rigorous. Do you hear the ice cream truck? Aww. I chased that freaking truck down the block and they didn't stop for me the other day. I wanted an ice cream cone. Anyway, that's the background theme for this. I think the judgment is like you've got a higher good that you order your life around. I want to do the right thing more than I want to be comfortable. I don't always make that choice, but kind of it's my aspiration and it's always in my mind. And that's true, it is. And for me, it's my faith. I mean, it's my religion, but it's more than that. I also have my own personal sensibilities for life, and it could lead to a sort of perfectionism. I could be really hard on myself, and it could lead to being judgmental of others if I let it. The feeling part, man, though, that's so me. And so anyway, I just found it interesting. They said something about how you often, that personality type will often not feel like they belong anywhere. And it said it's because there aren't that many people with that personal, like, I don't know, recipe for a personality. And people around you aren't always going to share those same thoughts or values or whatever they're living for. And you feel a little out of place. And I kind of feel like most of us have felt that way, though, in life. So I don't know. I don't know how much stock to put in it, but I talked to my sister. I took the test on a whim. I talked to my sister a few hours before, and in the conversation we were talking about our lives, the ways we are. And I said 2 or 3 things to her about myself that were literally almost word for word mirrored in those results. So it did surprise me how accurate it was at reading me. But do I think like I'm perfectly defined by a quiz? No. nor do I think a personality test can tell me who I'm going to be. I really don't think I have to be locked into the way I am. People can change, and I do have some changes I want to make, actually. So that was such a sidetrack. Why do I rush? Why do I hurry? What is this pressure I feel? I'm asking you if you feel a kind of pressure, if it's a societal thing or an internal thing. Is it really logistics of your life, or is it kind of like me? I feel a kind of pressure that I'm not what I should be, which is kind of that whole judgment thing I was talking about a second ago. I feel that I'm not where I should be. I should know more. I should have changed more. I should get X learned before I'm too old. I should do this certain thing before Nurtec quits working on my migraines and I have them every day again, because that could be any second, you know. That's a kind of pressure, a kind of fear maybe, and it feels like hurry when I used to have to rush around a lot. I'm a worried life or something is going to pass me by if I don't just squeeze the most out of it. Is that odd? Do any of you feel that way? It leads to sometimes a kind of paralysis, like I can't fully commit to doing anything. It also might lead me to distract myself from my problems, from these thoughts, these pressures. And I've been reading a lot about distraction. So, in fact, in this book, he quotes T.S. Eliot talking about getting distracted from our distractions by another distraction. That sounds so today to me. I do find that sometimes my distractions will themselves create a new problem. Kind of like the being on Instagram and seeing all these purchases I can make, and then I purchase too much. And I know a lot of you identified with that. I looked up pathological busyness. I just typed it in on Google and I got one of those 4 signs you're pathologically busy kind of articles. And I didn't really even read it because that title irritated me. But I did see that the first one was, you always have a full calendar. Well, I'm an introvert. I don't have a full calendar. I did when I had kids for their sake, but I don't now. And I don't have a full calendar. But I still feel that rush, that busyness, and I think it could come from the pressure creates a sense of dread in me, and I put off actions. I procrastinate till the last minute. Then there's a rush to get something done, but there's no enjoyment in the doing of it. And that's why I thought I don't want to rush making videos for you guys. This is a fun thing for me. I want to enjoy it if I feel that pressure. Gotta hurry, gotta get this out. If you don't edit this today, it's gonna sit there for another week, you know. I want to enjoy it. If I were on TikTok, like my kids are, I would be tempted to scroll and scroll and scroll, and an hour or 2 would go by, and I might have distracted myself from whatever was on my mind, but I would feel worse for it. I have been thinking, though, about what I ingest. I have found I'm just losing a taste for a lot of the things that I used to fill my free time with. I want to get back to reading real books. I'm not watching YouTube as much. I'm not wanting to marathon shows. I'm saying no to that more because it just doesn't make me happy. I'm needing something a little deeper. So here's what I've been doing. When I couldn't get this finished and I was in a place where I couldn't have anything too difficult or be ripping something out, I worked some more on these little socks that I kind of called my scrunch socks. They are not a true scrunch sock pattern, but there are 2 that I think I showed you on Ravelry called scrunchy socks or scrunch sock, and one looks like the old-fashioned scrunch socks we wore in the 80s, which would be fun to make. I think it's a DK sock. Then there's one that's similar to this, actually, where they have garter ridges. I just used pearl bump ridges here and there, just randomly. And there's some here in the darker colors. Let me see if you can see that. In the darker colors. And when I got to the heel, I put in some waste yarn that's left over from the cinnamon socks I did. This is kind of almost a plum green. I mean brown. It's a brown, but it's got almost a purple color to it. I did my heel turn. No, I did my afterthought heel, and I made sure I did the few rows of straight knitting that I always would. Like 2 or 3 socks I forgot to do the straight knitting. After you first pick up your heel stitches and do that first decrease, you do a little straight knitting. I just was skipping that in the pattern, and my heels were so much shorter, and I didn't know why. It's like 5 rows I was shorting my heels because I'm a doofus and that's what I do. Anyway, I'm back to the foot. I'm not doing any little scrunchy effect on that, of course. This is Patton's Croy, and I think it's called I'll put it on the bottom. It's something I got at my Joann store, Michael's actually. I don't remember. Joann, I think. Tourmaline. I think it's called Tourmaline. Anyway, it was nothing spectacular to show, and it's not finished. I did this heel while listening to UFO hearing stuff. And boy, that's what I really want to talk about. But I think that would be just a bit too wacky to most of you. Anyway, I just made do. I did what I can, and that's it. And I don't have a lot to show. So Maureen mentioned, I talked about the Tolsta tea the last episode, I think, and she mentioned, because I said it was in DK, I might could make it sport, but it looked a little heavy for me. She said there is a fingering weight version in the pattern too, which totally makes it raises it on my queue. A fingering weight tee in summer I could do much more easily than DK weight. So I just wanted to mention that to you if you were considering it. Stacy just started Hohi's staple linen top, and it's a sport weight, but I think I could get by with fingering, and it's got that really neat detail in the front. I love that. It's super classic looking, sleeveless. Remix Light might work for it. Definitely Lindy Chain I think would, but since it calls for sport, I know Remix would. And Stacy also says that she's making baby gifts in the summer. Kind of like those of you who said you make things like amigurumi and things like that. And then a lot of you had thoughts about granny projects. Anna and Lori both are interested in doing granny square stuff. And Lori, have you started the larger blanket? I wanted to tell you about a few designers that you guys have mentioned to me, and I know, Maureen, you like to hear about lesser known designers. I haven't heard of Heather Griffith before, but Leah mentioned her. It's HG Designs Crochet on Instagram. And so I went to the Ravelry page, and there are so many cute patterns there. There are some like muckluck house shoes called Snugs. So cute, involving granny square, granny stripe type design of crochet. I love Revival. It looks like a kind of, especially it could be a more tame, neutral granny square project, which I don't usually see. Most of us are kind of stash busting, and we want that funky granny square blanket look with our clothing. But I think that the neutral version of the Revival sweater is neat. There's Invested, which is very cute. And she also, and I'm going to have the link to her Instagram bio, she has a free granny square guide, and it's a neat little thing to offer free. This is really smart for people who want to have an online business like this, to have some kind of content that you offer free to people. She's got some really good ideas about how to connect granny squares, how to combine colors. It's really neat. It's free. It's a little PDF, and I'm going to have the link for it for you guys. Jasmine Yellow commented on the last episode, and I noticed that your channel is full of crochet and granny square tutorials and ideas. So Jasmine, I'm going to link your granny square, your YouTube channel, because you typically, it looks like you do a lot of crochet and fun granny square type stuff. I'm going to link that for the viewers. And then as far as new patterns, I also discovered Tanya Skolazub, might be how you say her name. It's TS Crochet Designs. So we talked about HG Crochet Designs. This is TS Crochet Designs. And a lot of Stash Buster granny square type blanket looking jackets. They're really cute. I know some of you in particular are going to think these are really cute. And she has a bundle. I don't know if it's discounted anymore, but on her website, she has a bundle, and I got the bundle. It was on sale. The white lace sweater, which is just all one color. And you can always do a granny square, granny stripe sweater in one solid color, and it would look great. A lot more neutral, maybe easier to wear. The white lace sweater is like that, and it's one solid color, and it looks really good that way. She has the Star Cardigan, and it's like other granny square long jackets, but it's got a star motif in the center of each square, so that's kind of unusual, and it's a long cardigan. Then there's the Butterfly Cardigan, which is, I think, very geometric and fun. And one of the samples has each side done in different striping colors with the little ridge of the little motif down the back. And that looks really funky and thrifty. But if you wanted to tone it down with more neutral colors and have each side of the cardigan look the same, you could, and it would look great too. But the reason I got the bundle was the Rose Garden jacket. Have you guys seen this yet on Instagram? I'm thinking you must have. It is so thrift store treasure. Oh my gosh, I love it. I would love to have it. I'm wondering, thinking about Maureen and how doable are these projects. I'm wondering how long it takes to make those little flowers. You know, for her business, it doesn't look like it takes very long, but she does do this all day. I'm thinking it might be a time investment, but the cute thing about it is it's presented as a cropped jacket. You could, of course, make it longer. It's cropped. It's not got a lot of fitting details. I think there's only 3 sizes. So because it's such a straight rectangular shape, I feel like if I didn't like the 3 sizes, I could modify. But you could make it longer or keep it cropped. And if it's cropped, it's probably a faster project. It looks very funky and a lot of positive ease. It would be a fun thing to throw over something. So I think if I started that and I had the little flower squares going throughout, say, a year, at the end of the year, I could probably easily piece my jacket together. But I've found when I start doing crochet, the blankets I've worked on, it's pretty addictive and it's very hard for me to set it down. It isn't really like turning a heel or knitting a heel for me. This is very much a chore. I always drop stitches, and I do that smooth operator no Kitchener heel. I like it because it's easy, but I always drop stitches and I have to redo it 3 times. So it ends up not being as easy as a Kitchener. I do like the way it fits though. Anyway, I want to talk more about Tanya, her patterns later. I'm going to do a I'm going to talk more about her patterns in the next video because I ordered one of her books and I'll show you. So where can you guys be found? I've got Leah of Eventual Knits, Ivana of the Republic of Me, Christy from Christy Archer Designs, Katinka from The Seamstress at the Cottage, the Athenian Maker, Ada. Let's see, did I leave anybody out? That's the ones of you that talk pretty regularly that I know have a YouTube channel. If I didn't say your channel, please let me know and I'll add it to the show notes, and it wasn't intentional. I told you Christy's got her Simply Irresistible, a new pattern coming out. I would like to, when I start working on the socks, y'all just, I'm going to link her patterns and you can go to them. I would like to know if you would want to knit it around the same time as me. Ivana has come out with a blog. She just started a blog, which I can't say how much I love that. Not many people really are starting a blog now unless it's a site. But I think she's really going to look at this as a bit of a blog, like a log. And she's always got beautiful photos. And one of her most recent posts is a recipe for a raglan sweater that she's made several times. She's got several versions of it, and her last episode maybe, or second to last, I think it's her second to last, she talks about this recipe that's free on her blog. So I thought I would mention it to you guys. I definitely want to try her recipe. And in fact, in 2024, I wanted, maybe before that, maybe in the fall, I wanted to talk about going off pattern with you guys and do a few episodes about that. And it might be a good time to try a recipe pattern instead of a official, totally tech edited, totally, you know, graded pattern. I think I would like to try a recipe. So that might be something we look at doing in the future, but it's there for you to do at any point on her blog. So, okay, I've talked and talked. I'm going to let you know more how I don't know, try to kind of revamp the stress and pressure in my life. And I want to talk to you some more about crochet, because next week I will have started that crochet shirt. And I'll have Tanya's book to talk about. Okay. Question. I'm going to say it like Dwight on The Office. Question. What is stronger, a bear or... Now, have you taken the Myers-Briggs test, personality test? Do you put any stock in a personality test? If you took it, did the results change anything for you? Okay, and the other question I have is, do you feel like you're in a hurry? Even if you're not physically rushing, do you have a feeling of, I gotta hurry, I gotta hurry. I gotta get this mastered, get this done. Some kind of pressure on you, more so in the last few years than ever before. I'm just curious to know if it's just me. If so, do you know why you feel that pressure? Okay, those are going to be super hard for you to remember and answer, but I'll let it go. This was probably pretty jumbled and very sidetracky, but you said you liked the personal, so... all right, I hope you guys have a good week. I am so glad I'm feeling better, and thank you for all your well wishes also. So, all right, see you.